Welcome to the scorching arena of valor and the crucible of courage. This is the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Here, in the inferno of life's greatest challenges, heroes are shaped and legends are born. Every episode is a torchlight of wisdom, casting a glow on the paths walked by those who've braved the flames and emerged stronger. In this furnace of fortitude, we'll explore tales of resilience, bravery, and the unyielding human spirit. Each guest brings their own spark of insight, lighting up the darkness and guiding us through the smoke of adversity. With Fireman Rob at the helm, prepared to delve into conversations that smolder with significance and stories that kindle the soul. It's not just a podcast, it's a beacon for all who seek to rise from the ashes and glow with purpose. So stoke the fires of your curiosity and ready your heart for tales of triumph and transformation. The flames are roaring. The stage is ablaze. Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast. Let the journey begin.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today's guest, he is a Marine. He's went to the Naval Academy, but you know, even more than that, he's created something that is so powerful because he saw a need for it. And he is the co-owner, president, CEO of White Feather Investments. It is so great to have you on the show today, Edward Buddy Rushing.
It's great to be on the show. I really appreciate the invitation. I was excited for it.
Definitely. You know, it's so great to have you on. I mean, thank you for your service. I mean, you're still in the United States Marines, right?
So I transitioned. I was on active duty for around 17 years. I transitioned into the reserves about 4 years ago, and I am officially out as of now.
Oh, congratulations! How does that feel?
Thank you. You know, it's an adjustment for sure. I've talked about this quite a bit. You know, I mean, my entire adult life, all I knew was the military. I went from high school straight into the Naval Academy, which is a military school, and then straight from the Naval Academy into the Marine Corps. So my entire adult life, that's all I've ever known is that rigid structure and that a crystal clear sense of purpose and sense of place in a community. And everything. And this was during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so, I went to Southeast Asia on a deployment, and then I deployed to Afghanistan 3 times. And so I had all of that, right? That's a different life.
That's a different world.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not get up and go to work every day. That's no. Like, it takes a totally different mindset. And so, transition out. And, as you mentioned before, we own White Feather Investments, which is a company that we run full time, meaning I didn't get a job when I got out. So now I have myself, right? And so imagine that. You spend your entire adult life having people tell you exactly where to be, exactly what to do. Yes, sir. Roger that, sir. This and that. And then you get out and now nobody tells you what to do. Right?
Oh, that's a drastic change. I mean,
it's a drastic change.
You could have eased into it,
Yeah, exactly. No, and people think, when you say it like that, like I have no boss, nobody tells me what to do. People are like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! Isn't that amazing?" And there are parts of it that are amazing, but I tell you, there's a lot of struggle and challenge that goes along with being your own boss as well.
Oh, I could imagine. Now, let's go back to the Naval Academy, and actually, I want to go back to what made you choose to be part of something bigger and join the military, because I think it's always interesting to find that origin story, because it means a lot to each person to be able to tell that.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, it was a combination of things. For me, I grew up, really poor on food stamps in WIC in East Tennessee. And my dad was drafted into the Marine Corps in Vietnam before I was born. And so he would talk about his, experiences there, which, a lot of them were not positive. A lot of the experiences in Vietnam, as well as coming home from Vietnam as a military person, not positive at all. Right. And so, he would talk about that, but he also, you could tell he was extremely proud to have served as a Marine, not just served, but served as a Marine.
Right.
And, right? And so
Yeah, exactly.
And so I always had that, I think, in the back of my head. And then whenever I was getting ready to graduate high school, I had a guidance counselor. Like, one of the problems with, being really poor, and especially since I worked in high school, like, to help pay the rent and everything like that. So I never played any sports. So, like, the way for a poor kid to get into college is to get a scholarship, right? And normally those are sports scholarships. But I didn't have that because I didn't play any sports in high school. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to college unless I can figure out a way to get it paid for, Then it all came together, right? I had this guidance counselor show me a brochure from the Naval Academy, and it was what I later learned would be called the Brigade of Midshipmen. So it's these bunch of people in these white uniforms looking real sharp, standing at attention in this formation, and then the Blue Angels screaming overhead, right? The jets, right? Yeah. That was the photo, right? And I was like, man, that looks super awesome. And I've always wanted to serve. I've always wanted to be a Marine. And then the guidance counselor said the magic words I needed to hear. They were like, and by the way, it's paid for. If you get accepted, it doesn't cost you any money. And I was like, sign me up. Yeah. Well, so what I later learned is it costs you a heck of a lot more than money.
It's free. It's free.
Right? It's like, I remember telling somebody about this. I was so excited. I felt like the Naval Academy and the military was like this rich uncle that just came into my life and did this amazing thing. And then I went there and I realized that
you don't have a rich uncle.
No, it's a $300,000 education rammed down your throat a nickel at a time.
I love that. I love that. I mean, it's got to be interesting, because I know a lot of people don't know what it's like to be able to be in an academy, a military academy. The structure, the discipline, the uber focus. Mm-hmm. What was that like to be able to transition into that? Because you come from a civilian side and you go into this rigid atmosphere. How was your transition into that?
It was a smack in the face immediately for me. Now, the rigid atmosphere wasn't the part that was hard, because my dad was a disciplinarian growing up,
right?
Like, he was, and so he was very structured and rigid, and so I was used to that. And the way that I brought up had a very military feel to it. We grew up in the backwoods of East Tennessee, and so we were always taught, like, work extremely hard, don't no excuses, like, don't cry, like, my dad was a really hard kid. and so in a way that really prepared me for life in the military. But what crushed me were the academics, because I grew up in a kind of a poor school district in East Tennessee, and then my mom and dad divorced and I moved to Louisiana, and I was come to find out, the lowest ranked parish in Louisiana for academics, and Louisiana is among the bottom of the states. At least it was at that time. And so I didn't do chemistry, calculus, or physics in high school. I didn't do any of those three. And
really,
right? So I go to the Naval Academy, which is one of the hardest academic schools in the nation, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden, chemistry, right? Like, they're like, boom, and it was so hard. And I remember, like, I thought I was going to fail out for sure. And I would just work. I remember working pretty much 20 hours a day, because we had our military duties and we had our, all of the stuff you have to do as a plebe, which is, you're treated like a slave, basically. And then on top of that, I had to spend every waking hour trying to figure out how to handle these academics. And so, I didn't get much sleep that first year.
I was going to say, that had to be something that weighed on your mind. Is like, while you're going through it, did you have those feelings of, gosh, am I made for this? Am I set out for this?
Absolutely. The first night that I was at the Naval Academy, I look around and brother, I don't know if you've ever experienced that community, but I looked around and I saw superhumans walking beside me, like people that were incredibly fit, I had a guy come in and, like, I'd never heard this term before, validated plebe chemistry, meaning he was able to take a test and not have to take chemistry because he was already beyond that. And I was like, what? Like, how is that possible? And by the way, he runs, a 3-minute and 59-second mile, right? Yeah. And also he's like 6'4" and really handsome. Right. And it's like, I'm like, who are these people? Like,
where did you pick them from?
And there were tons of them. There were everywhere
Yeah.
you looked. There were these people that were just the top of the heap. And then there was me. And I was like, I don't, you know what though? This is going to shock some people. The reason that I made it through wasn't because I was being driven by some interior motivation to be the best that I could be. I was scared to death that because if I failed out of there, what would my life be? It was the fear of going back home and working at Co-op or at Walmart. Like, because I couldn't go to college because I didn't have any money. And so even though I had done well academically in high school, I come to find out that was a terrible academic high school. And so, like, you know what I'm saying? So it was the fear of not having a life that propelled me forward, not the dream of because a lot of people
that completely makes sense, though. That does make sense.
I tell people all the time now, because now I've coached thousands of people on how to build the life of their dreams. And, you know, I tell them there are two primary motivators that you can latch onto: fear of loss and hope for gain. Fear works better, especially at the beginning.
Oh, I love that. I love that. What now I want you to go into that hope for gain, because I think that's something that a lot of people hang their hats on. Yeah.
And I will tell you that right now, like I think it's an evolution. I think it's better or easier. And this is just my opinion. What do I know? Right. But it's like, I think it's better to start with the things that hurt you, the things that you're afraid of, the things that that suck in your life, right? Do you live in an area that's super dangerous? Are your kids going to terrible schools? Do you hate your boss? Are you in a relationship that's not serving you? So on, right? Right. Using those things to fuel you to work late into the night, to learn things you didn't know before, or to take chances that you wouldn't normally take. That works because all you have to do is think. All you have to do is look around and say, I don't want to be in this situation, so I'm going to go ahead and send all of these messages to people who might buy something that I'm selling or whatever, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, there are times everybody has the same 24 hours. And if you're not living the life of your dreams, if you're in a situation that you hate, and you're simultaneously watching a show on Netflix, you should ask yourself, is this time better spent changing my life? Because there's plenty of time to watch Netflix later.
So true.
Right? So that's but the hope for gain, I will tell you, that is much more, I think, from a long-term perspective, that is much healthier to transition to that. So now, like in my life and my family's life, like I'm not on food stamps anymore, and we're not living in a dangerous area anymore and anything like that. So now it's like, okay, what drives me and motivates me? And honestly, it's the reason I'm on this podcast, because there's likely somebody that will hear this that will say to themselves, why not me? Like, yes, it's possible for me. And then I may never meet them, but they may make a decision to start using their pain and their fear to motivate them and to change not just their life, but the legacy, their family's life, their children's lives forever.
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
And that's what motivates me, is helping people do that, seeing the light come on in their eyes, and then helping them create a blueprint and a structure for how to execute it, right? Because mostly what you see mostly is people that are stoking motivations and passions and dreams, and all that's awesome. That's really good stuff. The problem is dreams without a plan, without an executable plan, they stay dreams until eventually they turn into nightmares of what could have been.
Yeah.
Because dreams have a shelf life, right?
Yep.
So
now, how do you transition that thought process? So I'm guessing that manifested itself throughout your career, obviously. How did situations that you were in while you were in the military help to shape not only the positives but some of the negatives of your mindset? How did that in essence roll out through your journey in the military?
You know, I saw that. So Patton has a saying. General Patton has a saying that a good plan violently executed now beats the perfect plan executed next week. And
I love that.
So what I learned in the military is the most success that I ever had wasn't having a great idea. It wasn't coming up with the best strategy. It was executing relentlessly on either somebody else's idea or an imperfect strategy that you iterate and improve over time, but execution, right? Taking action,
Right.
executing was the number one differentiator between success and not success. And in the military, especially in the Marine Corps, especially in combat, it is executing routine things in extraordinary situations. It's literally like the stuff you train, right? Like pulling, the slide back on your weapon or changing magazines or doing whatever, right? All of those things are relatively simple to learn and to do, but you have to be able to do them in extreme situations. And so what I learned was how to rapidly and ruthlessly prioritize the things that matter. And the way that I would do that, and you have to do that in combat because people are shooting at you. So you're not too worried about your Instagram account if somebody's shooting at you, right? Or what people's opinions are of you. Well, what do the people back home think about me? Do they think that I've forgotten my roots? All the things that plague us in normal day-to-day life, they don't really matter if somebody's shooting at you.
Right.
So what you do is you take that ruthless prioritization and you apply it to your life when people aren't in fact shooting at you. I literally was talking to my wife about this before this call. And, one of the things that we're doing right now is we're expanding our real estate investing accelerator because we've just had a lot of interest. And so that's a 6-month training program I have that helps teaches people how to build financial freedom. So we're expanding it, and so we're having a call on the 12th about that. And so for me, that's my focus, meaning I have a ton of stuff that could be done. I have, new construction projects in Florida that are, delayed. I've been trying to analyze this property that's in San Diego. We've got other things like Christmas decorations and, various other things that everybody. So what I'm doing in order to have success in this, I know that I can't be overwhelmed by all that stuff. I have to ruthlessly prioritize. And the only reason that I got on this call was because I had given you my word that I would be on this call. Right. And that's important to me, keeping my word. But this call is not necessarily supporting that mission. I'm doing it because I'm keeping my word, and it's only a 30-minute call.
Right.
But ruthlessly prioritize the things that move the needle forward in building your dreams, and then execute those things that you prioritized. That's the mindset that I learned in the Marine Corps and in combat that has yielded a lot of success in business as well.
And when you talk about ruthless, the people hear ruthless and like, oh my gosh, you're not thinking about anything else. Or talk to me more about that word, because I think it's in essence the game changer of what you're talking about.
It's the game changer. When I say ruthless, I mean that we often think of things and we just assume that they are all the same priority or something, or some similar priority. For instance, let's just say, you've got a commitment to go to somebody's birthday party, and you're feeling overwhelmed because you have other things that you need to do, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen if you don't go to a birthday party, right? And you look at it and you say, okay, they're going to be disappointed in me. I'm not going to show support, and my friends may, be disappointed and all that stuff. Okay, but what is the worst? And that you do that and apply that to everything that you have on your to-do list. What happens if I nuke this off of my to-do list and just kill it? And it never gets done. What's the worst that can happen? If the worst that can happen is your life is ruined, then prioritize that thing, right? If the worst that can happen is a few people get some hurt feelings, or maybe I don't have as much fun as I would have had, or a lot of times what you'll find out is nothing happens. Nothing happens if I nuke this. And so when you ruthlessly prioritize, here's another way to look at this. You have all the time in the world to build your dreams. You're just not prioritizing properly. And I'll give you an example, right? If I tell somebody, you live, Rob, where do you live?
Wisconsin.
Okay. So it's a decent plane ride from you to me. I live in Southern California. So if I were to say, hey, Rob, if you get on a plane and come out to me tomorrow, I will sit down with you for a half a day, and I will help you build your blueprint that can create the life of your dreams. And not you, let's just say it's somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else, they might be like, I've got to drop the kids off at school. I've got, this and that. I've got all these obligations. There's the expense of the ticket, all these, you fill out all of these reasons why it's a lower priority and thus won't get accomplished. But if I say to you, I will give you $100,000 if you show up on my doorstep tomorrow, guess what? All of those problems all of a sudden get a lower priority. But here's the crazy part. If I have sat with people and helped them build blueprints and helped them execute, and they have gone from being a 9-to-5 working person making $50,000 a year to a multi-millionaire in a matter of 3 years. I can give you specific examples of people that we've done this with that are willing to talk to you about how they did it. So that half a day you could have spent with me could have resulted in millions of dollars.
Right.
But
and
it won't be prioritized. And freedom. But it won't be prioritized for 99.9% of the people because it's not something that is an immediate tangible benefit to them, whereas $100,000 is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's a huge, that statement that you made is directly at that instant gratification. Mm-hmm. And there's so many people that can't, they can't function around, I have to work hard for that. Did that military side of you help you to create this investment side of, you have to find the way to do it yourself. You have to be invested in what you are going after. Did that help you in that respect?
I think by and large, one of the reasons that I do focus on military and veterans and first responders, that's who we kind of serve and their families is because there's a general sense of a bias for action and a willingness to do it themselves if they need to. That's just in general, right? You think of a police officer, a firefighter, a Marine. In general, you're going to be like, yep, that person's probably willing to get their hands dirty. They're probably willing to work hard. They're probably willing to take some pain if they need to. Those are in general, like, sort of things that you think of when you think of those. So, and we found that by and large to be the case. I don't know if it's the military training or if it's the type of personality that goes into the military.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Yep.
So what we do, and this is one of the main reasons that we decided to focus on this community, is because I believe that people who volunteer, and whether you're a police officer, firefighter, or someone serving in the military, at this point, it's an all volunteer force. There's no conscription. Nobody's ever been drafted that is serving currently. And so when you have people who willingly put themselves in a situation where they could be hurt or killed to serve their fellow human, to in some way preserve and protect the American dream of freedom and safety and security, those people who do that, if you help them build financial freedom, what do you think they're going to do with their time?
Yeah.
They're going to keep serving in whatever way that drives them the most. And that's what we see. That's what's played out.
That's so huge. That's so huge in the aspect of, when you think about the people that serve, and I love that you put it that way of like, they're helping out. And a lot of times you're helping out people that you don't even know personally or will never know. So when you created White Feather Investments, tell me more about the premise, because I love it. Our mission is to educate and empower military members to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. Talk to me more about that feeling of you being part of something bigger than yourself and creating this for others.
That's really what it is. It's being a part. I mean, let's be honest, that humans, we are naturally drawn to want to be a part of groups or missions that are bigger than ourselves. It's just way more wired. That's why gangs form. That's why, nations form. That's why friendship circles form and so on. And so what we found, in the military is that we have all of that when we serve. But as soon as we take the uniform off, we lose all of it. Every bit of it, right? And, so what we wanted to recreate that. We wanted to recreate that, but with a different mission, right? Our mission is not to protect our nation anymore or to fight our nation's battles. It's to ultimately help people live the American dream they fought to protect. That's what our mission is, and that's what our collective mission is. And so, the answer to your question of why real estate is because I discovered by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then that sparked my mindset, and I started learning a lot more. It convinced me that even though I grew up on food stamps, I didn't have to have that legacy passed beyond me. I didn't have to sustain that legacy of poverty, right? And so, and then I discovered that real estate is the number one vehicle that has lifted Americans from poverty to millionaire status. It's the number one vehicle that has created millionaires out of ordinary people in America. And so I'm like, well, shoot. When you look at that, and then you look at the military benefits, like the VA loan, for instance, which allows you to buy a property with $0 out of pocket, then it started really kind of cranking. And it started from using your VA loan to house hack. So buy a fourplex, for instance, with your VA loan, 0 down, live in one unit, rent the other 3 out, and live for free, right? It started with that. And then it moved into buying rental properties, and then, developments and education, and then all of this short-term rentals and all this other stuff. But yeah, it started with that one realization that real estate has created more millionaires out of normal people than any other vehicle.
That's amazing. And reading here, as of 2022, you had over 230 graduates of that program. Make sure you go to whitefeatherinvestments.com. You can find out more there. What does that mean to you? I mean, you served your country. You did amazing things there, and now you're doing something on top of that to not only create that freedom for your family, but freedom for others. What does that mean to you at the end of the day?
Well, first thing it means is we need to update our website, because we've had 350 accelerated graduates and over.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. See, it just continues to get more.
Yeah,
See, I love it.
This is gonna sound a little silly, but I at some point. So Tony Robbins says this best. He says, you can only make so much money, and then you have to start making a difference if you want your life to have meaning. And when you're poor, that doesn't mean much to you. You're like, whatever, give me the money, right? I just want to, I'll worry about that rich person problem later. Give me the money right now, right? And everybody, that's the way I was, at least. And now that we have achieved financial freedom, I can honestly tell you that there's nothing truer. Because what you realize when you become a millionaire, when you realize, hey, I am a millionaire, there's a resounding emptiness that happens. It's like, there's this expectation that you'll be filled with joy for the rest of your days, and that's just not the case, right? You have momentary, like, oh, this was fun, or, oh, wow, we did that deal and it was great, or, oh my gosh, look how much money is in this account. That's really cool. And it lasts for like minutes, not hours, not days, not years. And so when you realize that doesn't keep you happy, then you start getting scared, and you're like, well, shoot, is there anything that can make you happy? Anything that can keep you happy? And then you go back to literally what every wise person throughout history, dating all the way back to Jesus, said, is that if you want to be happy, serve others.
Right.
It's that age-old wisdom that we somehow have to keep relearning, right, and rephrasing in different ways.
So true.
Right? Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Right.
And so what I've found is that the real passion and joy in business that I get is helping people have success in their life, seeing their lives change, seeing the light in their eyes spark whenever they realize what's possible for them, and then hearing their stories. And so I will get, and here comes the cheesy part, I will get emails routinely. Like, I'll just get out of the blue, people will send me emails, and it'll be, hey, buddy, I just wanted to let you know, I know we haven't talked in a year or two, but I just wanted to let you know that since I joined White Feather, my wife and I have fully embraced this journey to financial freedom together. And guess what? We fight less. We love more. We're more excited for our future. Yes. Our lives and our children's lives are better because we're on this journey, because of this community, and because of everything. And so I will read that, and I will sit in it, and I'll respond to them. But then I use Gmail, and so I have this little Google Gmail folder or whatever that I literally call them nice emails. And I will put it in there, and I've got hundreds at this point, hundreds of those emails. And I can tell you, man, I did a deal earlier this year where I made about $300,000 one month, right? And that's a lot for me. That's a good day. It was a good month, right? So in that month we made $300,000, and that was a spike. That was a lot for me, and because financial freedom for me doesn't mean $100 million. It just means that all of my bills are paid by passive income, and so so $300,000 is a lot. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is cool. This is fun. This is going to be fun doing all this, whatever. And then I literally just moved on, right? Whereas when I get one of these nice emails, I'll sit in it. I'll think about it all day, right? It's because someone's life is better. Someone's life is more positive and more abundant because of the small part that I had to play in it, and I get to keep that forever.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. I love it. Well, make sure you go to whitefeatherinvestments.com. You can find out more about the amazing things that you're doing, as well as, you're on LinkedIn, right? Edward Buddy Rushing. Go to there. You can find out I love your posts, man. You got some good posts.
Thank you.
Especially 2 weeks ago. Happy birthday to the Marines.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on today. I always end with the same 3 questions. Are you ready for those questions?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So if you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
To my 18-year-old self, I have 2 things. One would be to tell my 18-year-old self to not buy my first investment property, which was an absolute disaster. You can find it; it's online. And if you follow me on Instagram or anything like that as well, you can find all of these stories. But it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But I also, the lessons we learned out of that disaster, helped us build what we have built now. So my temptation would be to tell him not to do that, but that probably is not the right thing to do. I think
hard.
It is. I think what I would tell him is, you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad right now and understand that the mindset shift you get out of that is going to create a legacy change for your family and a life of abundance and a life of impact and everything. So my 20s were all about deploying and being a Marine and executing, and same thing. A lot of my 30s were about leading Marines in combat and doing all, and I wouldn't change that for the world. That is a life-defining period in my life. Right. And it was amazing. I'm so proud of having served in the Marine Corps. But the thing is, the odds are that I live to 100, right? With today, 90 or 100 with all of the health improvements, longevity, everything that's happening. So that means that even right now I'm 41, which means I've got like 60 years left.
You got a long time.
So, if that is the case, then, take a look at how you want the rest of your life to look. And here's the thing I've learned. Money or financial freedom, or call it whatever you want, it doesn't mean anything in and of itself. It only matters what you do with it.
That's so true.
So really building financial freedom is literally just building yourself a launching pad from which you can make your dent in the universe. You can live a life of passion and purpose and so on. It's an enabling function. That's all it is. So money in and of itself, that's why for me, it's like, bro, if you've got $10 million and financial freedom, why try for 100 million? Right? Just for the sake of 100 million. Now, if you're trying to do something big, if you're trying to do something much bigger and you need that 100 million to do that, then okay, awesome. But what you'll find a lot of people that are building that is they're building it just to have that extra higher number in their bank account.
Right.
And
that doesn't make sense.
There's a book that I would also recommend. So I would tell my 18-year-old self 2 things. 1, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And 2, read Die with Zero.
Oh, really? What's that one?
Yeah, check it out. It's Die with Zero. It's basically, it's a book that flips the idea of what money should be used for on its head and how much money you should save. And the whole idea is that you use the money that you create in your lifetime to create experiences and memories and
awesome.
The optimal life, and that you don't save anything to literally just be passed on whenever you die, because the whole premise is if you're wanting to give money to your kids, give them to them while they're still alive. While you give it to them right now. Give it to them while you're still alive. Don't wait till after you're dead, because oftentimes by the time they receive their inheritance, assuming you don't die like as some freak accident, if you die like in your 80s, the chances are your kids are in their 60s, which means the optimum time they could have used that money was 30 years ago when they were struggling and with it, right? And so it flips everything on its head, and it's like, So like I've been riding the bike a lot recently. I'm preparing
I
for a
love
half
that.
Ironman.
Nice.
And yeah. Oh, by the way, I've never run a half Ironman or a third Ironman or any. I don't even know. I didn't even know what an Ironman was. I just had a
Yes.
buddy of mine say, "Hey, you're 41. Let's go fight back against Father Time. Let's go run a half Ironman for charity." And I'm like, "Let's do it."
I love
So
it. I love
it's
it.
so hard. Just in case you were wondering, Rob, it's so
Yeah.
hard to ride that far. It's so hard to run that far. Like it's gonna be a total.
You just got to get there, buddy. Yeah, that's all you got to do. You just got to get there.
I've got a friend of mine who's a professional triathlete. His name's Tim O'Donnell, and he was like, "I'll train you." And I'm like, "Tim, you run a marathon at a 5-minute mile pace. Like,
Yeah. Tim's off.
Yeah, you're way more, dude. Like your VO2 max is way higher than a normal human should be. So, like, don't no. I'm trying to survive. That's all I'm trying to do. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
That was a long answer to your question.
I love that though. It's and actually I think you kind of answered the next one, because I was going to ask you 2 habits that you'd say for people going through challenges to continue to live forward instead of push backwards. But what would be 2 challenges you'd say daily that they should start incorporating?
Challenges to themselves, as in like
challenges, like in struggles. Just
struggles that they're gonna face.
Yeah, they're going to face. I mean, a lot of people, struggle daily with all sorts of things, from the smallest of things to the biggest of things. But if they can have habits daily that they can start to incorporate, they can start to just live forward instead of just ruminating in their struggles and challenges.
Yeah. What I will tell you is something that I struggle with, especially being my own boss, is getting motivated to do things, like especially in the mornings, right? I'm not one of those guys that wakes up and I'm like, let's seize the day. I envy those that are, but I'm not. And so what I have to do is I have to structure as soon as possible in the day some type of event where someone is relying on me. Wow. And so like it could be a phone call, it could be one of these, like a commitment that I have to do, whatever. Yep. And what I find is that when I help people, or when I, do something for somebody else, it energizes me. I would suggest that it probably is the same for most people. So I would say at least try to incorporate at least once in your day something that helps improve somebody else's life. And it'll get you out of a funk a lot of times, and it'll get you away from thinking about just yourself. And it helps. And oftentimes, by the way, it can have business ramifications too, because oftentimes, like, I'll send a message to somebody, and it'll either be a message of encouragement, or I'll send them a book to read, or I'll whatever. And oftentimes they will respond back with, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. I wanted to talk to you about this deal I was doing." Right. And so you'll find, you don't do it for that purpose. You do it literally just for the purpose of giving. Right. And then the second thing is, this is something I'll rob off Tony Robbins as well, is it's impossible to be depressed and grateful at the same time. At least this is according to him. I've never tried to be depressed and grateful at the same time. But I will tell you, so what he's saying is, if you are truly, truly in a place of gratitude for the things in your life, then it will change your mindset and it'll change your state. And he talks about this. You can go on YouTube and find ways that he talks about specifically how he practices gratitude. But it's basically along the lines of, and it can be anything, and it can and should be small things as well as big things. Like, for instance, one that I always go back to is, I'm extremely grateful that I can see. Because think about how much different your life would be if you lost your sight. No driving, no enjoying a sunset, no looking at your wife, no looking at your kids, no reading a book with your eyes. No, right? There's so much that would immediately collapse if you lost your sight. Isn't that something we can all be grateful for? And if you are blind, but you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, then you have hearing. Right. So can we be grateful for that? Because what if you lost your hearing? How does your life change? Right? And those are big things. So sometimes that's really hard. Like, you have to really sit in it, and it kind of can be difficult to do it quickly. Right. Right. So what about also food?
Yeah.
right? That's a little thing,
Yeah.
right? Or the fact that you in fact do have a child, or you do have someone who loves you, right? Or you've got clothes or whatever, right? So you have
All
to
the
find
food.
what works for you, but all of these things we should be grateful for. And if we can't find it in us to be grateful for it, then at least try to envision what your life would be like if you lost it.
Huh. That's see, I like this. Yeah, you've got some powerful stuff here. You're just sitting on all of it, though, Eddie.
I've stolen a lot from a lot of really smart people. That's what I do.
No,
I've
but
never had an original thought in my life.
Who has? Come on now.
Seriously,
Who has?
good point. Great point.
So, all right, this last one's gonna be fun. If you could sit at a firehouse table and have coffee with 3 individuals, they can be deceased or alive, and at a firehouse table, you can ask any question. Everything's answered. Who would those 3 people be?
Well, I mean, I think you pretty much have to put Jesus at the table, right?
Right.
Because regardless of your faith, let's just assume that you believe there's no God, there's no order in the universe, there's no anything.
Right.
Jesus is the most well-known name in history.
Yep.
It was this guy who was a carpenter, who was not born into wealth, was not born with a family name of any consequence, was not born into any type of influence, and yet, whether or not you even believe he was the Son of God, you cannot deny the fact that he has more historical impact than any other human.
That's so true.
And you got to be like, what? How did that happen? Right? And what was it like starting this movement, this counterculture movement with these 12 dudes who were of no importance to themselves, and literally bucking against the Roman system and the system of the day, where you can and will be killed for your actions.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that, and how do you have that have such traction? I would have faith questions for him, obviously, for me, because I'm a person of faith, and so I would have those kinds. But even if you didn't have faith questions, you gotta be curious as to what Jesus.
That's so true. That's so true. I don't know if you're gonna need coffee though.
No, won't need coffee. It'll be so stimulating.
I love that.
And then obviously I think everybody else pales in comparison, but like I'm a personal. This is weird, right? Because I don't know if I'd want to sit around a table with him. I'm just so blown away by everything that he's been able to accomplish for our world, and that's Elon Musk. Right? I don't know. I sit around a coffee table would probably be awkward with him because he's just an awkward dude. But like what he has done, it defies everything except the laws of physics. Right?
Yeah. That's very true.
It's crazy. It defies everything that we know about how to build a company, about how to change an industry, about how to change a nation, potentially change humanity. It's and all for a brighter, more like abundant, exponential, and exciting future.
Right.
Of sailing through the cosmos and of like creating a world of abundance and abundant energy. And it's like, what? Like interconnected connectivity to everybody on the planet through Starlink. Through the person who is in Uganda right now, who has no future and no anything, but can get an old Generation 1 smartphone from the local, like they have charities that give these things out, right? Right. They like send androids to all people in like Zimbabwe and Uganda, and all of a sudden, because Starlink is up there, have access to the internet, which means you have the ability to bank online, you have the ability to learn what you need to learn to make money and to create a legacy-changing abundance in your life through this free smartphone and this interconnectivity to a satellite you can't see.
That's crazy.
Right? Crazy stuff, right? Yeah. And man, the third one?
Well, geez, you've almost run out. Like you guys are gonna have this has gotta be like that kind of fun one. That kind of brings levity.
Yeah, let's do a fun one. Let's throw Kevin Hart in there. Right? Because Kevin Hart is gonna be hearing Kevin Hart make fun of Jesus would be the greatest experience I can possibly craft. And like having him just throw shade at Jesus for how he talked and what he did, it would be hilarious. Hilarious. And I think Jesus would like it too. I honestly think Jesus would crack up.
Yeah. That is the yes. the explanations and the people, I love it.
Great question.
Well, it has been such an honor to have you on, and make sure you go to whitefeatherinvestments.com to find out more. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.